And I think that's our cue to start the show. Hello and welcome to Platos Cave on Revolution Radio for revolution.radio. Excuse me. Home to ideas, which are good. Ideas are good, always fun to have ideas. We all like ideas, right? Sure, Mackie, why not? We like the ideas. Ideas are good. I can't find the record button on this Teams thing. That's okay. It's all good. We'll figure it out. The station is also not beholden to anyone, which means you are paying for the station if you donate. If you can donate, that'd be great. Any currency is good. Crypto, gold, silver, diamonds, that falls. It's also good. But if you can't donate, that's all right, because times are tough over. So please go ahead and tell people about the station. It's just as important as donating. Well, almost. But yeah, the more people know, the more can donate. And please do like, subscribe, etc. Follow us as well. If you like what you hear, we are everywhere. Rumble, YouTube, I don't know, Twitter? I don't think we're on Twitter, but we're everywhere.
We don't stream to Twitter, but we do post our videos on Twitter, and we're also on Spotify.
Beautiful. And I will never call it X. This is Tuesday, the 13th of May, 2025. That's right. We're close to half the year gone. Time's flying away. Tempus fugit, which doesn't mean time flies. It means time flees. A tiny but important distinction. The time doesn't just fly away, it flees us. It flees before us, and as it flees, we're left in its wake, trying to hold on to our youth. Yes, that's the truth. Hey, you can catch the cave on the air, online all the time, on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere, or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. That's fun, I'm sure. Another good reason to donate is that the archives are free. Go in there and listen to your heart's content. It's pretty good stuff in there. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Dave,
it's the Dark and Jung.
Very good. And for myself, of course, it's the Dark People, and we would like to thank elders past, present, and future. Okay, formalities out of the way. Just when you think. Just, Dave, just when you think. I've got a few good news stories we can talk about if you like. But just when you think. That's it. Can't get any crazier. It does. What's been happening in your world, my friend?
Oh, I don't know. It's Groundhog Day, but one story that has two angles. Ceasefire, India-Pakistan ceasefire. Fantastic. Oh, it's great. And that was, I don't know, 3 hours ago. I saw a story on that, and then as soon as that story was published, now there's trouble with the ceasefire.
What a shock!
Yeah, who knew? Who even knew? Oh, I'm having so much trouble with the setup today. Hang on one sec. I've got the two news stories there, so you can have a look. That's correct. So this is the announcement: missiles, drones, and airstrikes until a sudden ceasefire. How India and Pakistan agreed to an uneasy truce. And the next story from the same outlet says India-Pakistan ceasefire breaks down just hours after truce was announced. But you know what, Mackie? That isn't the big story. It's not the big story.
Okay.
The big story was the train trip. The train trip that mattered. It mattered a whole lot. It had Keir Starmer and a French dude and some other guy who I really don't care about. And what was on the table? Have you seen the story?
I have not.
Oh, boy.
I'm waiting with bated breath.
With bated breath. Well,
look at it being baited.
It's baited. I can see it's baited. The thing is, dear listener, that they invited the press into their cabin on the train.
Trump style.
Yeah, that's right. And Keir Starmer has like a black hoodie on, and so does Macron. He's got a hoodie on with a shirt beneath it. not a t-shirt. And this other guy who looks really prim and proper with a sweater on top of a shirt. When they go to sit down, on the table is a line and a small paper folded what could have been a baggie. And they're all very, very happy. Maybe
so what are you saying?
Happy.
What are you saying?
Well, I'm not saying anything.
Really?
The story has now been labeled the Coke Train.
Coke Train.
Because they actually attempted to hide it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Am I good?
Oh, no, I've actually seen a montage of all of these political figures, all doing the little nose thing. Like, am I okay? Asking someone. I've seen the sports reporter actually having the stage manager come over and give him some when they're on an ad break. I've seen all these videos, but this one, I don't know, it takes the cake, Mackie. It's really a thing. I'm going to share it with the chat. Hang on.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm going to share it with you as well.
Thanks, brother. Look, I got to say, though, this.
It's paused at the timestamp.
About 120 years ago, thereabouts.
You could just buy it at the chemist.
You could buy, you pick up your quart of benzene, right?
Yeah, that's
petrol.
Right. Yep.
Get me half measure of laudanum and some cocaine dust, maybe some heroin powder. Why not? Let's just throw it in the mix. And the chemist would go, "Yes, sir, right away, sir." And that would be the end of it. Now, fast forward, and our society is falling apart. It's just the way it is, I guess.
Just remember, I want everyone to understand that this is yet again evidence of an oligarchy.
Oh, look.
Because there's two rules. There's one set of rules for all of us working, or in some cases are not working people. And then there's rules for them.
Thank you. Great segue. So, you're right, it is. But we have actually advanced beyond the concept of oligarchy. Well, yes, of course. All the hallmarks of oligarchy are there now. And this is not just in Russia, not just in America, but everywhere. Everywhere. It's everywhere now, right? And it's more or less hidden. But the next level of oligarchy is where they just don't care. You don't care. Mm-hmm. I'll do whatever I want. So there are a number of stories that have come out of the States and the UK. I guess it's the zeitgeist. It's the feeling of the time that we're in, where there's it sort of permeates. So every era has a certain feel to it, right? There's some kind of ethos.
Sure.
It does. You remember yourself. You and I remember the 70s well. I mean, the 60s were probably a little bit too little, but the 70s we remember well. I remember the 80s really well. The 90s. Now, the 80s for me were full of hope and pep, even though I had a bit of a hard time in school, but it was still a hopeful kind of time, right? And in the 70s was great. 70s was just great for kids, I thought, for me anyway. Mm-hmm. Right? And in the 90s, there was still, it's all popping, and then, 9/11 happens, and it changed, right?
Totally.
There was a different flavor to the world. And that's where we are now. And the flavor now, the flavor of the world we live in is rum raisin walnut offal. Okay, that's where we are. That's what it tastes like. Give me that waffle with the offal. But it's really telling. If you look at all the things that are happening, yes, they're not hiding anymore, and there's a certain level of it doesn't matter anymore. Yes, we are corrupt. Yes, we do this, but what you gonna do about it? Type thing. What you gonna do about it, right? And the right is coming out in strength in Europe as well, and people say, what you gonna do about it, right? India and Pakistan at each other's throat, which we predicted, by the way, that was on the cards, and that's not going to end well, I don't think. There'll be other incidences where there'll be more. Globally, there'll be more things like that. Secessions, even civil revolts. There'll be things coming up, but mostly, in my opinion, it will be over water and even medicals. Now, before I start ripping into Trump, he did one great thing. Fantastic thing. Did you hear about the pharmaceutical price reductions?
No, I didn't.
So Donald Trump.
I knew that they were planned. I haven't heard any success yet.
So what he's going to do, he's going to write into law. Well, no, you can't write into law. He might issue an executive order, which will reduce all medicine by 30 to 80%. Now, to be clear, Americans have been paying crazy amounts for medicine for years.
10,000% more.
Yeah, right. So I mean, they have, and it's ridiculous. And the thing is, some people lose everything just to pay for medication. Some people die because they can't afford the medication. And it's really only America. I mean, even Cuba has cheaper and better medicine than the United States. Well, not better medicine, but cheaper medicine, right? The same medicine, but it's cheaper. Canada. Across the border, Mexico, people go on pharmacy trips to Mexico to buy medication at a fraction of the cost. Michael Moore did a really good documentary called Sicko. I don't know if anybody watched it. Michael Moore's been quiet recently, but that was really good. They organized tours. He went to Cuba as well. So this costs how much? $2. How much does it cost in the States? $500. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about right. Now, but see, this is where I start to worry about Donald Trump, because there are two things that could break his back, right? With his supporters, and when I say his supporters, I'm not going to the billionaires, not the grassroots MAGA people, right? I'm talking about the billionaire support class that he has. Raising of taxes on the rich is one, and starting to interfere in other people's profit, right? And now, make no mistake, the pharmaceutical companies in America are worth hundreds of billions of dollars every year. Now, what he said, though, and I found this interesting. Oh yeah, we're gonna have it reduced, and it'll be like every other country, and they've been ripping us off, and now we're gonna rip them off. They're made in America, those meds, and the American companies are making the profit. Pfizer and so all of those, they might no longer be incorporated in America, but they're American companies. So it is the American billionaires that Donald Trump is going to spit in the soup. So we'll see how that works out for him. But I think that's fantastic. I think it's a really great move. If it comes off, it'd be great to see Americans get access to cheap, let's call it affordable. I mean, probably not cheap, but it'll be affordable medicine, right? Especially life-saving stuff. That'd be awesome.
Well,
no, that's great.
Mackie, that's been driven up because of the insurance companies. Everyone had medical insurance. I really cared. The insurance companies were paying all the bills, and they just accepted the cost without a collective argument against why they were going up. We've had a PBS for a long time, and it differed greatly. It's the same as common law in traffic accidents handled by the insurance companies. The insurance companies themselves, why there's no law that says if you hit someone from behind, it is your fault.
Yep.
Insurance companies have always just, whoever's car was in the back is the one that pays for everybody.
Yeah.
And they controlled that and became common law. The same thing in the US, if you get a good job, you might get medical insurance and dental care.
Dental care, Lisa's dental care.
I know, I'm picturing it.
Lisa needs braces. Sorry, it's just
we are grown up The Simpsons.
It's a life spent on the couch. No, so I think that's a great thing. So this is the thing, right? Donald Trump does things that are great, in my opinion, and then he does things that are completely harebrained. So the biggest one, actually, it's not even the biggest one. What did I say? One of the ones is he blinked first. He blinked
Uh-huh.
first, right? So the trade war with China is on pause for 90 days. They've now been reduced to, I think, 35 and 15% respectively, which is much lower than it was before. Still higher than it was before, but much lower than it was. So there might still be an impact on the American consumer, but it's a 90-day moratorium, in which time they've given themselves 3 months to, come to an agreement, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like he has to feel it himself. He started the tariffs, and now he's pulled the tariffs back, and that's a win. Well, it would have been an even greater win if he didn't have any tariffs in the first place, because nothing really has changed. Nothing has changed, okay, except that a lot of goods, goods, not services, a lot of goods won't make it to America in time because there's been no shipping, because nobody can buy it. That's the only thing that has happened here, right? Anyway, there's no trade agreement with UK, by the way. There was an agreement to have an agreement. It's like having a committee to plan a meeting. That's what they did for the trade deal.
And also to name the committee.
Yes.
You should be called committee to name the committee. Yep.
The fighting walruses, I want to call them. The fighting walruses. That's what.
Hey, you can laugh. I've worked for a company that did that.
No, I've no doubt. I've no doubt. We spent
from experience.
We've spent millions, tens of millions in my company to change our name and our station into black and white. Our palette was gray. Not kidding, because it's cheaper to print black and white. The cost of color printing is 10 times higher than the cost of black and white.
That's right.
Anyway, we're digressing. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so that wasn't really a win. It's just we've gone back to more, I guess, agreeable trading terms between China and America. We'll see how it works out over the next 90 days. We'll see. Markets have soared, gone up, so that's all goodness, I guess. Next. This is a big one, Dave, and I'm curious what you think about this. Now, let me lay it out for you, right? Two things. But the first one I'll mention first is around the acceptance of gifts by any official. So in Australia, because both Dave and I and the corporate world, we could potentially go up with clients or vendors, and there could be lunch that somebody pays for, but it's fairly strict. Right. The rules are fairly strict. If you're a government employee, you can't really accept anything. Okay? If you're a government employee, no gifts, nothing at all, right? It's a very dicey thing. So you don't. It's just
because it can show that you're accepting something in return for something.
Correct. It might be perceived that you're getting something for your vote or your favorable influence.
Just favor, yeah.
Correct. So it's a big no-no. Now, same thing in America. No one shall accept any gifts in government, etc., and nor shall they accept gifts from kings. Interestingly, that's what it says in the Constitution, interestingly enough as well. Now, Donald Trump...
history.
Donald Trump just accepted $400 million.
Yeah.
Now, whatever Biden did in Russia or his son Hunter,
comparison, that's right.
It doesn't even pay for the floor mats on that thing, okay? So this is a $400 million jumbo jet.
I want more than what he got.
That's right. Where's the diamond encrusted toilet? Now, apparently, the toilets are gold, I heard.
Of course.
No kidding.
Yeah,
no kidding.
Yeah.
And of course, why? I mean, hey, gold is sterile. It's clean. Well, what do you have in your bathroom? But anyway, so it's $400 million. Now, okay, you can argue the Air Force One is 40 years old. Fair enough, right? And you take that plane and turn it into new Air Force One. After you do a buck sweep, you get all the spy electronics out of it, the hidden bombs, the hidden terrorist compartments. Because let's not forget, Qatar.
No, you park it for 10 years and you unbox it. There's a whole bunch of dusty, dry skeletons that fall out of all the compartments.
It's Abdullah. Now, that's to the side. Now, Qatar happens to support terrorist organizations as well. Like, this is not a secret. They do. But, okay, so the plane comes and replaces the Air Force One, right? Okay, I think... All right, I mean,
if it's for off Boeing yourself, you pork chop.
Yeah, but if it's for the people, right? If it's for the people,
Air Force One is for the people.
No. What I'm saying is it's for the American presidency, right?
Yes,
It's
that's right.
Yes. But it isn't. You see, and that's where it gets interesting. So there's a clause in this whole thing which says once Donald Trump is no longer president, the ownership of the plane will be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation. Guess what? That's owned by Trump.
Yeah.
So the plane will transition to Trump ownership. So that's
a sweet deal.
Yeah, in some countries that's called, I don't even know a bribe.
I've got to put the warning screen up.
You better. This level of, it's not bribery. It's bribery, I guess, on the Qatari part. But what he is doing is such. I mean, you're not allowed to make any money out of the presidency for yourself or your family. You're not allowed to, right? And can you imagine if any of the Democrats, especially Biden, had accepted a $400 million plane and then decided that he'll keep it after he leaves the presidency? Can you imagine what the Republicans would have done? They would have burned down all of Vermont just to get him. That's what they would have done. Burn Vermont! And this plane.
Part of it? No, all of it.
All of it. The whole thing. Burn it. But no.
I'm glad, Mackie, I'm really glad that most of what we say is satire.
I'm serious.
I'm trying to get around the censorship. So
I'm dead serious.
I know you're serious.
It's not what I'm doing. I'm not telling them to do that. That's what they would do.
That's right. See, I'm going to put the warning screen up again.
No, that's all good.
But more airplay these days.
No, so he's going to make, at the very least, forget his. I mean, his cryptocurrency is another thing, right? He made hundreds of millions on that. He's got a sweet ride now. Okay, that's going to be his.
I thought there was a $2 billion purchase of his currency.
That's correct.
By someone, somewhere, something.
The Qataris bought a big chunk.
There you go. See? We're behind the eight ball here.
Dude.
We need to create our own currency.
It's corruption. Okay, I want to put it not too fine a point on it. It is corruption on an unprecedented scale. I mean,
it's president.
It is president. He's putting Marcos? Yeah, General Marcos of the Philippines. He's putting him to shame with his billions. And Imelda with a cupboard full of shoes worth $100 million.
House full.
Well, when I say cupboard, I mean
just for the shoes.
That's it. It's a mansion. It's a mansion cupboard. So that happened.
Bought next door so they could hold all the shoes.
Yeah. So that happened, but the really big piece, and this is the one that should worry everybody.
Oh, I'm waiting for this one.
Is habeas corpus.
I'm putting the warning screen up again.
Do we know what habeas corpus is?
I did know it. Yes.
Yeah. Look, essentially, it's your right to a fair trial. Like in a nutshell.
Right. Yes.
You get your day in court. You get due process. It's all in. Essentially, what it means, habeas corpus. Show me the body. That's what it means in Latin. Show me the body. Mm-hmm. A judge decrees it. Show me that the guy that you actually have, and he gets his day in court. So bring me the guy that you say is guilty. Right. That's habeas corpus. And
judged by a group of your peers.
All of that.
Yeah,
and now they're saying, we're actively looking at suspending that. Now, you can suspend... I'm serious. You can suspend habeas corpus if you're in war, at war. At war, you could be or under attack or whatever it is. So you can. It has happened. The last time it happened, Dave, do you know what last time it happened?
Nope.
Under Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. 150 years ago.
4 and... What was this?
7 years ago or something like that.
Something like that, that's right. Yeah.
But, so, that's when it happened. And I'm thinking, no, you can't suspend habeas corpus because that's the end. If you take away... This is not for foreigners.
This is your judicial system,
which
is the basis of fairness in your society. As a fair, democratic society, take that away. You've pulled the rug. There is.
Yeah.
Hey, what have we got next?
But it gets drowned out. in the $400 million thing, the pharmacy thing,
right.
the trade deal with China, which is not a trade deal, by the way.
India, Pakistan, firing missiles at each other. Mm-hmm.
And we are like 110 days in now, right?
And there's been 2 world conflicts.
I will tell you.
Around the world, 2 new ones, brand new ones.
Brand new.
Sparked up, and there's already 2 existing ones.
Yeah.
And that's 4. I'm counting them now.
No, I hear you. And he's the Prince of Peace, right?
That's right.
And the thing is,
Houthis know all about that.
Oh, the Houthis! Oh my goodness!
Don't they?
Oh my good. Yeah. Look. But what worries me is that the 2 stories are completely forgotten almost. One is the Ukraine. I'll talk about in a second. But one is Gaza, which I will talk about now. So Gaza is kaput, finished, done. The Israelis have now openly declared they're going to take Gaza.
That's right.
So that's mine now. Thank you. They will do the same.
I saw. Yep.
Yeah, they will take the West Bank. The Palestinians will either be killed or displaced. Where to? I guess Egypt, most likely, or Jordan. These are the only really neighboring countries.
Want them.
Well, Egypt doesn't want them. Jordan already. The Jordan population is already 80% Palestinian. Okay.
Oh, that's an easy fit then.
That's an easy fit. That's what he says. They can't really go north into Lebanon because, well, that's where the fighting is. So that's not going to happen. So the push will be south and I guess and east.
I'll tell you that Egypt doesn't. What's the best way of putting it? They don't take no lip.
Well, no.
They monitor all phone calls. They're I know the NSA monitors everything. That's fine. It's when it's your team doing it to you, you don't really care so much. Not as much. I have a friend that lives over there in a long time since I've spoken to them, 10 years at least. And I recently saw a YouTube video documentary, which was from the History Channel, talking about Egypt, and they called it clandestine, but really it's just the West in a very small space, doing all the things we do, but labeling it really bad because it's the History Channel.
Yeah,
and they don't like intruders, they don't like foreigners, they don't like nobody.
No,
it's almost like Hungary in Egypt.
It's a fairly control. Well, I mean, they had a lot of troubles. It used to be more liberal, right. But after they lost the war to Israel, things changed significantly.
And they're on a foot trail, a travel trail through that area, so you get everybody coming through.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's connecting. I mean, really, what it is, it's connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa. That's what you're connecting through there, really, right?
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to cross is at the Bosporus in Turkey, right? Or you can go around the Black Sea. You come in from Asia, you go into Africa. It's easy, and it's like a land bridge.
How you get there? You're getting there.
Yeah, you don't have much water to cross, really. Either way, so it's in fact, if you look at the entire area, no wonder it's so contested and so mixed, and so many armies have gone through it over the millennia. No, but we're looking at in my opinion, again, put your voice on if you like, we're looking at the extinction of the Palestinian people. Okay? Because the bombing is indiscriminate. And once you are no longer in your homeland, your culture tends to diffuse as well somewhat, right? I mean, not necessarily completely, but certainly if you lose contact with your land, it's a big blow to your understanding of nationhood, right? So the two-state solution is out the window completely. Netanyahu is going to press on his 2 right-wing compatriots, and they're going to push him on as well. So that's going to happen. And while he does this, he's not going to go to court. He's going to stay prime minister. So his worst case scenario for him is that the war ends. That's his worst case scenario. So Donald Trump didn't deliver. Ukraine is still going on. Let's go to Ukraine for a second. Russia said, let's have a ceasefire, and it promptly keeps bombing everybody all the time anyway. Let's just keep bombing. Let's just do that. And Zelensky.
That's a failure of communication. It's like those Japanese dudes on the islands who still thought the war was going on after World War II.
Sure.
We're going to have a ceasefire. I'm kidding, of course. You know what, Mekki? Our show has evolved into a news reaction podcast.
Well, because it has. Because the thing is this: there has never been this much news.
No, that's right.
I mean, the news agencies, independent like ourselves as well, should thank Donald Trump and Putin, for that matter, for creating all these news for us. Of course, I'd be happy to discuss Platonic philosophy, to be honest with you, but but that's not to be at the moment, right? Because the Ukraine. But Zelensky did a smart thing. He's moving. He said to Putin, "Hey, let's meet in Istanbul on the weekend. How about that?" And so the ball is now in Putin's court to see, because Zelensky's going to go, right? And we'll see if that leads to anything. I doubt it. In the meantime, the Europeans are arming themselves to the teeth. There's conflict everywhere. Like, I don't think that we have ever been so close to World War III. And I'm not talking about a nuclear war. A nuclear war is game over, lights out.
That's right.
We go back to sticks and stones. And
I've got a doomsday clock one. Yeah, look at that. It's the worst it's ever been.
Is it?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, there you go. So
we're 89 seconds to midnight.
Yeah, look, and the tension. See, the problem is this. In Yugoslavia, when Tito died, Yugoslavia fell apart. Okay? When Gorbachev declared that communism was over, pretty much that's what he did, the Soviet Union fell apart. Neither of those things was done in a peaceful fashion. I mean, there were conflicts that evolved out of that. Chechnya, Georgia, now Ukraine, etc., right? As well as, of course, the war in Europe during the 90s between the Serbs, Croats, and not Macedonians, Croats, Serbs, Bosnians. So if you take Iraq, same thing. Iraq broke into three separate regions, really, if you want: Kurdish, Shia, and Sunni, after Saddam Hussein was killed. And what happens here is when you take the lid of a hot pressure cooker, the water tends to explode. And this is what happened here. Tito was the lid. I guess Gorbachev and communism were the lid on the USSR. Saddam Hussein was the lid on Iraq. And there are many other examples throughout history where you take the lid off. This is what happened. So what's happened now, the security arrangements that we've looked at or lived under for the last 80 years are gone. So the lid is off. So nature abhors a vacuum, as does politics. What happens? Who's going to be in charge, right? And this is what we're trying to find out right now. But you're living history now, right? You're living in interesting times right now. This is a bad thing, not a good thing, but you're living through it. You are witnesses to history. And we are seeing the establishment of new power structures. We are seeing the creation of a system of political back and forth that hasn't been around for almost 100 years. Right? Nations are trying to rise. Other nations are in decline. Again, other nations are looking to settle grudges. They're looking to expand territory like Putin is doing.
And it's a whole bunch of flux at that level.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can only do this in this time when it's...
not when times are good.
No, and controlled. See, times are not good and they're not controlled. Right now, there's no control, and times are getting quite bad for a lot of people, economically speaking.
So 20 hours ago, Poland announced that they're closing the Russian consulate in Krakow.
Yeah.
Over the shopping center fire.
Yeah. That's it.
I've got a news. I'm going to paste this into the chat.
Yeah. They also arrested 6 Bulgarians for spying for Russia in the UK, right? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. Oh, by the way, this completely got drowned out, but Russia was found responsible for the shooting down of MH17
Yeah, that's right.
that killed 298 people. The AIDS conference, as you recall.
That's right.
Just
I
before
saw that
COVID.
news story today.
Yeah. So.
But it didn't make the mainstream media.
No, because there's too much other stuff, dude. It's just too much.
You only got, honestly, you only have, if you're in mainstream media, and if you are in the media, you'll know what we're saying. You get 5 stories, and that's it. It's got to make the hour. You've got to have sport and weather. So you've really only got 38 minutes or less to get your idea across, plus the commercials. Yeah. So about 22 minutes. And that's it. Yep. So in that 22 minutes, what are you going to talk about? 5 top stories. There'll be on Flying High or Airplane, if you know the movie, there was a downtown fire and a plane crash. In every language, in that they made a joke about that. And that's exactly what happens. And I know that the government will release a leak to push out a story they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And there was, I know that there was CIA projects where they placed CIA people into the news agencies, into managing editor roles, so they could control what went out.
Yeah.
And there was no independent news. Even though they had independent news, they couldn't report anything they wanted. And they were getting 2 wages. They were getting the wage at the place and their CIA wage.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy?
How about this? Talk about crazy. I'll give you a couple of news stories that you wouldn't have heard, I don't think. Or anyone for that matter.
I'll see if I can find them.
This was yesterday.
Okay.
Ex-UK Special Forces break silence on war crimes by colleagues. Okay. Former members of UK Special Forces have broken years of silence to give BBC Panorama eyewitness accounts of alleged war crimes committed by colleagues in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's a blah, blah, blah. Giving their accounts publicly for the first time, the veterans described seeing members of the SAS murder unarmed people in their sleep and execute handcuffed detainees, including children.
Yeah.
That didn't make the front page, did it?
So, ex-UK Special Forces break silence on war crimes. Yeah. I've got the BBC story on screen.
Yeah. Now, another one. Trump actually met with the Saudi Crown Prince today.
Oh.
Or yesterday. That's the guy that had the guy dismembered in the Istanbul embassy.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, how's your dismemberment going? Oh, yeah, not too bad. I do what I can. They found a crate full of Nazi documents in Argentine from 1941. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there.
I'm trying to bring all these news stories up.
But you haven't heard it, have you?
Hang on a minute.
Mexico is suing Google over the Gulf of America name change.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
You heard that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you about the Russian thing. You heard about that. The PKK is looking to disband. Now, the PKK, for everybody out there, the Turkish government has been fighting the Kurdish Workers' Party for decades in the east of Turkey. In Anatolia, they usually go across the border to Syria or Iraq to hide there in the mountains. And the Turks don't acknowledge the existence of the Kurds. They call them mountain Turks. If you ever see a Kurdish person, don't call them a mountain Turk. You won't live to regret it. I tell you that. So, but they're disbanding. And the PKK has been the single biggest opposition to Turkish rule in Turkey, for decades. And now they're looking to disband. Didn't hear about that, I guess. What else has happened? Australia, you might have heard, we have had, again, this is interesting to us, maybe not to you, but we have got the first female leader for the Liberal Party ever.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shock, actually.
It is a bit of a shock.
She's a moderate. She's like centre-right.
Well, we saw that didn't work, so let's try. But the thing is this. You know, I told you last week that the average Liberal Party member is like a 70-year-old white man.
Yeah, sounds right.
And the average Australian is a 30-year-old woman or 38-year-old woman. Okay.
That's what I used to be.
I'm happy for you. So, so what they've done, clearly, they've looked at themselves and said, you know what? We need a facelift. We need an image change. Chop this off and give me something with blonde hair and long blonde hair and lipstick. Let's do that.
I heard that she was born overseas.
I don't know. She may have.
I heard that today in a story.
Okay. No, then she wouldn't be able to sit in Parliament.
Well, that's what I thought. But then there she is. There was an
let me follow that up.
Story. Yeah.
But
Suzanne Lane.
Yeah, that's it. Now, sorry, it's okay. No, sorry. Let's roll back. This is not America. If she doesn't hold another passport, she's fine.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she can be born anywhere she wants. In Australia, you don't have to be born in Australia to be Prime Minister, okay? Just to be clear. Okay. Of course, the conflict between Pakistan and India, that's going on. This morning I was watching, as I do every morning, I watch all the news. I watch the Indian news in English, I watch the French news in English, I watch the German news in German, and all the other countries' news. They're actually shown on either SBS or Vice, I can't remember. But they show them in half-hour segments in the morning. All the different countries have their English language service at that time. And the Indian news, now it's a serious business and people get killed, but I found it amusing because news is meant to be neutral, so to speak, except for Fox, I guess, and maybe CNN. But news is meant to convey information, not opinion. Man, they were laying into the Pakistanis. Oh my God. They were not one hair left on their head that wasn't touched. They were giving it to the Pakistanis on the Indian news show. Interesting. Of course, I mean, I guess you would expect that, right? Africa. Did you hear about this?
Oh no, I haven't. But
Donald Trump said.
I found the story. Yeah.
Donald Trump said, No more immigrants. We're gonna shut down American immigration. Blah blah blah. Right? Essentially, I mean that's where they're going. Sure. Except for one group. One group. It just happened. Literally, it's a fairly recent story. White Afrikaner South Africans.
Oh, Afrikaans. Yeah.
And because the Trump administration believes that the Afrikaner white Afrikaner of Dutch descent, the Boers, are being discriminated against and persecuted, and the land is taken away without compensation, which is true. And therefore, well, sorry, there are cases where that has happened. It's not a blanket thing, but it has happened. But then again, after a couple hundred years of oppression and virtual slavery that apartheid was, well, you can't really blame the people, can you? Anyway, so he is now granted them
refugee status.
They have been granted refugee status. And Elon Musk is South African, right?
That's right.
But it's funny. So no immigrants except white supremacists. That's the only ones we're accepting. Thank you very much. Mic drop.
The apartheid did. What was that? It was nothing, right? Sure.
Apartheid. We don't even remember it. Apartheid.
What?
Well, the word is actually it's a Dutch word, but you can translate it into German as well. Apartheid. It's actually a sort of bastardization between English and German. Apartheid means it's the noun of being apart, like it's a policy of having people apart from each other. Apartheid.
Mm-hmm.
The apartness, if you will.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Of people, and that was official policy, of course, back in the South African government. So there's a whole bunch of news, but I tell you what, you really have to look through everything and spend a lot of time to get to some of the stories that are not Trump, and then analyze them and see what's going on in the world, what else is happening, right? And I tell you, this level of uncertainty that exists right now in the world. Across everything is it's almost unprecedented. The only other time in the last 150 years where we have lived through a time like that was just after World War I. So Russia had just become communist. That revolution was still in full swing. The Chinese Revolution was underway in China under Mao. with the Long March. The British Empire was seeing a massive decline, which led to a lot of emancipation in the 50s and 60s of a lot of Commonwealth nations. They're no longer part of the empire, still part of the Commonwealth, but not the empire, right? They gained independence. The destruction of the German and Austro-Hungarian empires, completely gone. It was a world economic crisis, the Great Depression. America was suffering from the Dust Bowl, which just made things a lot worse. And they tried tariffs, which made things even worse yet at the same time as well. So it was an extremely volatile time in the world. The colonies were starting to grumble and revolt. There was Japan was trying to recapture its old glory, and China was weakened at the time, so they thought it was easy pickings, which it was for the most part, because China was fighting itself, the nationalists versus the Communist Party. So the Kuomintang, of course, eventually went to Formosa, which is now called Taiwan, under Chiang Kai-shek. Africa was a mess in the sense that it hadn't at all recovered from the colonial rule of the Europeans. South America was being dominated by the USA, and that's where we got our term banana republics, because the Americans directly interfered in a lot of South American states, especially, and this is where it started, where they grew bananas. So these banana concerns had a lot of power and influence. And that all happened at that time. We're talking the 1920s and 30s here. At the same time, you had millions of veterans out of work. These are soldiers, right? These are people that have weapons training and idle hands, right? The devil's plaything. And that saw the rise, of course, of all the extremist movements, right? So communism was first off the ranks because it had been brewing for a long time, but something else came through, which was fascism and National Socialism. This idea of people, and the Japanese did the same thing. Japanese, Germans, Italians, Spanish. This idea of connecting the people to the earth, where they live with their blood, etc. This mythical idea of a nation, as it were. And the Japanese, of course, took a full tilt, making the emperor the god emperor, of the Shinto religion in Japan. But again, it's an artificial construct. And this was the time when all of these movements they all coagulated, right? You had this extreme mysticism that was prevalent in Europe in the 1880s and 1890s that fed the Nazi and the fascist movements as well. It was massive turmoil. And again, like I said before, that time is the only time I can think of that is comparable to what is happening today. Right, we have got other movements, Dave, as you know. We've got the woke movement, the diversity and inclusion movement, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the right is on the rise. Okay, the left not so much, because communism didn't really work out. Right, socialism is still working well elsewhere, but communism, there wasn't really a thing that worked. Capitalism is dead. We're now living in a feudalist, post-capitalist society, which is run by the corporations, and which is interesting, because if Donald Trump were to continue with his tariffs and the isolation policy for the United States, that would spell the end for globalism in many ways, right? Or a different kind of globalism. Right, a multipolar globalism, which would be really interesting to see. I mean, I guess you and I are going to be around long enough to see it all come to fruition, right? And you add into that the fact that the weather patterns are changing. We seem to have a lot more volcanic activity. Disease vectors are on the rise too, right? It's not if, but when the next pandemic is going to hit. Be it engineered or otherwise, it doesn't really matter anymore, to be honest with you. It's completely irrelevant. And here we are. So what's tomorrow like? I'm going to bring an umbrella, Dave. That's what I'm going to bring an umbrella.
You probably need one. That's what I'm saying.
But it's nuts. I don't know. I mean, there's only so much you can actually intake, and I still like to read my books, and I actually have to work as well, so I do that. Look after my kids, but every other moment I'm just looking at the news, independent and otherwise. And it's almost too much to keep up with. And it's really like this is advice I want to give to everybody. Try to watch news channels from other countries. See if they've got an English language service or whatever language you speak. See if you can get a different point of view. Because it will be different, and they will be covering different stories, right? Stories that interest them and their listener or viewership, rather than United States or Anglo-Saxon dominated news, right? It will be different. I watch the Fijian news, believe it or not. They have that on SBS as well. It's brilliant. It's about Fiji, like what matters to Fiji, right? Which is very different to everything else, right? There's a bit more. I guess it's actually I like to watch the Fijian news because it's so tame. So it's like a nice break. When you watch a horror movie, you get like 5 minutes of breathing easy. There's no jump scares coming at you because they just did them all, right? So you can just sit there, relax a bit, have your popcorn, drink your drink. That's how I watch the Fijian news. That's I tell you, Dave, it's something else what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Hey.
I've just sent you another video. This is the Atlas robot.
Oh, wow.
Which is quite good. I've just shared the video with everybody. It can crawl, do cartwheels, roll. It is, when you look at it and what it's doing now, it's a weapons platform. That's all I see.
Of course it is. Absolutely.
Roger. It can even breakdance, Mackie. It can breakdance better than ray gun.
The next...
In fact, they do a comparison.
I bet they do ray guns. The next thing that you will see on those robots, they're going to be flight capable. You got drones. So they're going to have foldable, I think, 4 or 5 rotors that will be sort of folded in. And then
gadget.
Oh, 100%. They'll be able to get airborne and then, go into bipedal or quadrupedal mode. But the thing is this, we still think that's a good idea.
The people working on it think that they're going to make a robot that's going to replace a human and human activity within the workplace. That's what they believe they're doing. Have a look at the link I just sent you. And this thing is nuts. Like, it's not even that big robot with the big back thing. It's just a human-sized human robot. But all of its joints can turn 360. Its head can turn 360. Its hips. So if it falls down, it does that thing from, what is it, Terminator 3?
Yeah, where it goes back to front.
Yeah, this can do that.
Of course it can.
Of course it can. So, look, we would have to learn where the on-off power button is on it.
Good luck with that.
Because if you're close enough to push it, you're already dead.
Oh, look, I'm shredded. The joke's on you.
I saw it, because, I like I said, I tell people this all the time. I did go to school in California, and there was talk of, the coyotes. You could hear them howling in Southern Californian hills. They're big. They're not like little dogs. They're not like Chihuahuas or even Great Danes. These are huge, huge things. And I always worried about the black bears. And I saw like a 6-piece cartoon, paneled cartoon of what to do. It on first sight, it appears as though it's a guide to what happens if you ever encounter a black bear. It isn't. And I'll give it away. I don't have a copy of it, but I'll give it away. The first one is he sees it in the distance. And the next one, it's got its claws out and it's about to take the swipe. But then the next panel is him. He's dressed in armor and he's got a sword and he's battling this thing. And the sword turns into a lightsaber, and he's doing all this stuff, and he's jumping around like a samurai, blah, blah, blah. And in the last frame, if only that were true, and it shows his mangled skeleton on the ground all torn apart. it just turned out to be his imagination as he was slowly losing life. So I thought that was really funny. And you're right. And I see the same thing in what we're doing to ourselves, creating this new world where robots are going to be friendly, clearly, totally friendly. They know, and not at any point, Mekki, will there be someone like Mr. Burns at the top who just wants to replace everybody with ducks. Remember in that episode? He'll replace everyone. Hey kids, let's make Kitterix. He'll replace all human employment with robots. That's what I kind of see. And don't tell me who is what in the business world. The moment that one of these is $30,000 US dollars, and you don't have to buy one, you'd have to buy two or three because they're charging cycle, but those three would still be less than a person working.
Correct. There will be in a.
It's gonna happen.
Oh no, it is happening, right? So because the replacement is both virtual and physical. So we already know that many factories, automotive factories, were the first. Yes. Have been completely automated and robotized. So just if they're physical robots, you look at them. Of course, they're not your classic humanoid robot; they're a robot nonetheless. But the virtualization is much worse. The virtual automation is much worse. Hey, there's the music. Beautiful. Now, this has been Platos Cave. Thank you so much for spending your morning, evening, afternoon with us. Really appreciate it. Don't go anywhere because something else is going to come up that's going to be awesome. You can catch us again on Thursday and then again on Sunday with Shiny Side Out. But in the meantime, Dave,
be safe, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.